war, no way. We know there's a better way. One man living this one day. Oh, yeah. No war. Now you got the tune, right? No, we need justice. We need justice. We need justice. With justice for everyone. We don't need any bombs or guns. Oh, yeah, no more. Here's the bridge. And we know this can't be so. And I know because the people can make it so. No more. No war, no war, no way. No war, no way. We know there's a better way. The world can live in peace someday. Oh, yeah, no war. Oh,
All right. So again, I want to thank you so much for being here. So I get the impression that we all know why we're here, but for everybody up in the windows and everybody in, with their cameras and watching from the outside, we are here because the U.S. is once again flexing its power, pretending that it is the top of the world and that it owns everything that lives on this earth, and assassinating military leaders of other countries. We're here to tell them that we're not going to stand for that. So it's so good to see all of you here. So I'm going to lead you in a little chant, real quick. Say, Trump says more war, we say no more. Trump says more war, we say no more. Trump says more war,
We say no more.
Trump says more war,
We say no more.
Trump says more war.
We say no more.
Thank you so much. So, real quick, I would like to have Seattle DSA come up and say some words. We had Maddie Hanhart, if you're up here. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for being here. I first want to start out by saying thank you to Answer Coalition and other organizations that helped put this together at the last minute. As you know, things developed quickly, and the fact that so many organizations came together in solidarity in the name of anti-war and to resist the American war machine is incredibly inspiring. So we should really say thank you for the labor that really went into this. So really give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. I'm going to read a prepared statement from the Seattle DSA Anti-War Caucus. The Seattle DSA opposes war with Iran. The U.S. must withdraw from the Middle East, not just for its crimes today, but for generations of crimes committed throughout the Gulf. The U.S. military is an agent of capitalist business, people and troops seen as little more than pawns or gangsters for the jackboots of capitalism. There are zero positive outcomes from starting a war with Iran. It is a gambit for capitalist vampires who thrive on chaos and the real politic of absolute fools like Bolton, Kissinger, and others. Far from an unusual act, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani is a deliberate blow, years in the making. It is calculated, it is cynical, it will bring more violence. Apologists will acknowledge Syrian blood on Qasem Soleimani's hands. However, like U.S. troops, these arguments are deployed in bad faith and serve only as pretext to war. with millions of lives at stake. One cannot claim to be in the interest of preserving life by rationalizing an attack that will lead to justified popular revolt against decades-long U.S. imperial occupation and arms sales in the Gulf. Lost in the question of war in Iran is what gives the U.S. sovereignty in Iraq. Nothing. Iraq is a country whose infrastructure U.S. forces decimated, where millions of people were and continue to be displaced, and where the U.S. operates with near impunity. Both the people of Iraq and U.S. military forces have documented war crimes for decades, and scarcely is the question brought up anymore in the imperial core. The U.S. tortures, the U.S. murders, the U.S. displaces, the U.S. extracts every last bloodied ounce of wealth, regardless of the bodies on any side, friend or foe, neutral or accomplice. For those crimes, the U.S. should withdraw from the region. These are not the only crimes of U.S. capital. The U.S. has no justification for its continued occupation and exploitation of Iraq, nor war in Iran. We have seen the violence seated in Afghanistan, Yemen, Palestine, Israel, and Syria. The U.S. is cynical and opportunistic. It has no allies, only accomplices to be discarded and carcasses to pick up for ill-gotten gain. We call on U.S. citizens in the imperial core to resist and prevent bloodlust when retaliation is made. We insist that war can be best diffused through complete U.S. withdrawal, acknowledgement of U.S. crimes, and a long, hard road of reparations for the sins of U.S. capitalists in colonies and on the backs of the global proletariat. We encourage military personnel to resist and refuse to take up arms. Should there be a draft, bring the cards. Should you deploy mutiny? Should the political elite of the U.S. demand blood? Spare it. Do not let them use you as a pawn in a rich man's war. You have more in common with someone resisting U.S. invasion and warmongering than you do with capitalists and their politicians. Thank you for being here. There is power in solidarity. To quote Sarah Nelson, solidarity is the most powerful force on earth. It is a force more powerful than gravity. We must realize that, we must practice that, and we must leverage that in the coming months. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Answer Coalition. We have